So this year, the Boston Celtics will match up against the Miami Heat in the East, and the Golden State Warriors will match up against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks in the West. I'm going to start with the East just because I think this is a little bit of an easier matchup to decipher. A lot of people are having conversation about Jimmy Butler and how he gets overlooked a lot, especially in the press. And I feel like there are several reasons for this. One of which is that Jimmy Butler has never been one of the chosen ones that get embraced by the media and who is pushed out as one of the faces of the NBA. But one thing you have to give him credit for is that no matter what team Jimmy Butler has been on, whenever they needed him to rise to the occasion, he did his level best to do just that. And he shows up in the postseason. He motivates his teammates. He's extremely hardworking. He's dedicated. And he is a great basketball player. Some people may not qualify him as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I see him at the very least as being a second ballot Hall of Famer. And if he does win a championship and leads this Miami Heat team to a championship over the Celtics and then over the Mavericks or the Golden State Warriors, people need to give the man his respect and let him enter this conversation as one of the most dynamic forces in the NBA to be reckoned with. There's always going to be a preoccupation with certain players like LeBron James and Stephen Curry and now Ja Morant and Luka Doncic. But there are players in the NBA who don't get that kind of attention, who are holding their own, and he's one of those players, and he deserves his respect already. But I get why people don't talk about him as much and why this team is kind of underrated. It's just because the so-called superstar Jimmy Butler on this team is not as sexy of a player for the media as some of the guys I've mentioned before. So that is what it is, and we can have a whole video about that. But moving on, the Heat have a pretty deep team. They have players who you wouldn't necessarily be focused on per se, that can come in the game and give you 20, 30 points even off the bench. Players like Strus and Vincent and Martin and Tucker and Oladipo and Robinson and Hero and Lowry. This is a team that utilizes their full roster for the most part, and everyone is very committed to doing what is necessary and playing their role to the best of their ability to help the team elevate and win. They play team basketball. They're not really playing through one person. They're running their offense through Jimmy Butler, but they're not asking Jimmy Butler to be Luka Doncic and put the team on his back and win games for them. They want to play within a system of basketball, and that's always going to be in some ways more challenging than having to really prepare for just one guy, kind of like what we saw with the Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. You have to prepare for Giannis, and yes, there are going to be other guys that have good nights, but the truth is that the Bucks are running their offense and through Giannis and asking Giannis to be the guy that helps them to win. And Spoelstra doesn't really play like that. He knows that he has to rely heavily on Butler, but he wants everyone to be involved in a system of basketball that wins. And that's what we see with the Miami Heat, which makes them harder to beat in some ways than a team like Milwaukee or a team like Dallas that's relying a lot on just one guy. With that said, the Boston Celtics are more than equipped to guard anyone on the Miami Heat. What they were able to do against Brooklyn should tell you a lot about the defensive capabilities of this team. And they're running that tough defense through players like Grant Williams and Al Horford and Tice and Derek White. These players come in understanding that yes, they need to knock down threes and knock down some shots, but they get that the assignment is to limit and slow down the other team's superstars. And they're able to do this effectively against players to a degree that's almost shocking. And I don't think that even with all of what Miami has to offer offensively, all the way down their bench, that there is any one player that's going to present as much of a challenge for the Boston Celtics as Kyrie Irving, KD, or Giannis. And so if what has happened in previous series is any evidence of what the Boston Celtics can do, they should be able to beat the Miami Heat. This is the result I'm hoping for, because in spite of the complete and total respect I have for Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, they, for me, are just not as fun to watch. And I'd rather see the Boston Celtics go up against whoever wins in the West. Plus, I think that they have all that you need in order to win against the Heat. I wouldn't be completely shocked if the Heat did win this series, but I'm going to give this series to the Boston Celtics 4-2. Wouldn't be surprised if this series went 7 games, especially since the Miami Heat have home court advantage. But I'm going to give this one to the Celtics. And as long as Jayson Tatum is healthy and Jaylen Brown is healthy, then they should be able to do their thing in this series.